Alright guys, back for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But like I was saying in the last part, yeah, there are too many fucking plot holes in Harry Potter with those books. But then we have... What else? What else about Order of the Phoenix? I don't know. There's just so many big plot holes in Order of the Phoenix. But then you get to the problems within the story itself, and it's like Harry just acts out of character the entire book. He acts too much like a dick. And it makes no sense as to why. People try to, like, chalk it up to him having PTSD from, like, the fight with Voldemort, seeing Cedric die, and whatever the fuck else. PTSD does make you act out at times, but, like, the thing about PTSD is that it's more so to affect you with, like, having glimpses and flashes of certain things, or certain sounds can set you off, or whatever the fuck, with how badly your brain is, like, with how badly your brain is, like, what is the word I'm looking for? How badly your brain got fucked up from from the experience you had, from what you saw, what you heard, whatever the fuck. You know, the way Harry acts in Order of the Phoenix, like, largely is not caused by PTSD. I'm sorry, but it's not. And they don't acknowledge it within the Order of the Phoenix book or the Half-Blood Prince book as Harry, like, suffering from something like PTSD. They never say it, so I can't take that as the canon explanation. I don't think J.K. Rowling's ever, like, given a definitive statement on that either. So it's like, you can try to claim it as much as you want as the reason why Harry's a dick in that book, but, like, yeah, no. It's just not there. Some people read too much into these things. And they, like, try to find reasons for excusing bullshit. And it's just like, you guys know that you, or you guys know it's okay to know something isn't the best, right, and still like it. I mean, look at me, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's not the best Assassin's Creed, but I'm still playing it. I still like it to a degree. It just could be a lot better. But yeah. Wait, wasn't I already here? Yeah. Yeah, because I had to go through this base in one of the last parts, right? Yeah, I did. Alright, so, what else? Let's go here. I was gonna hit the rest of the question marks in the areas I've already been through that I didn't get already. Let's go here first. Like, Cave of the Dead Wolves. That's, but yeah. Then there's, like, some of the politics of the wizard world that make some of the characters just seem odd for how they'd be. I'm talking about... Actually, it was introduced in Goblet of Fire, then quickly, I guess, thrown to the wayside. In Order of the Phoenix, which was SPEW, the Society for Promotion of Elvish Welfare. And it's like... You have Hermione, like, having problems with the wizarding world, still using slave labor through the house elves. You know, and I think a lot of people at the time were probably siding with her. And then people probably brought up in between books 2 and 4, why there are more house elves still around in pureblood wizard families, and why the characters maybe don't care as much as they should when it comes to that shit. The characters from the Muggle world, at the very least. You have J.K. Rowling, I think, retconning, although it's more so of just establishing something. You have her retconning, house elves and shit to being more, what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know, to being, like, liking their enslavement for some reason. Like, I'm not kidding. She has them born... Like, she retconned them to be born loving being slaves.
Trouble if I'm spotted here.
And apparently the ones that don't like being enslaved are a minority that are born weird. Like, the other house elves consider...
Perfect breeding ground for bandits.
I'm not going after that right now. But, anyways, yeah, you have them being turned into this race of sentient beings that actually like being enslaved and shit like that. You know? It's just really stupid. I really have no idea why J.K. Rowling just really doesn't want to, like, make a definitive, like, statement of saying, you know, slavery is bad. In her children's book, and be consistent with it and keep that message going, you know? But yeah, and I'm glad that they kept SPEW out of the movies. Some people, I think, would have rather it be in the movies, but it's just like, first of all, it's a subplot within those 2 books. Second of all, it's not a good one. Third of all, it's relatively short. So excising it from both the Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix movies was a no-brainer. On top of that, it was a terrible subplot. You know? And the thing about it is, like, Hermione is not the only character that should have cared about the house elves' enslavement and trying to be an activist to get them free. you know. And the thing about, like, Hermione and all that is she's portrayed as being, I guess, in the wrong by multiple characters, including Ron, the dude that she ends up with by the end of the series. As, like, being a really overzealous activist. And, yeah, it's not that good. Like, the whole thing about, like, that is, like, I don't understand how, like, J.K. Rowling can take, like, what is supposed to be the message, or one of the messages, I think, of Chamber of Secrets, i.e. slavery is bad, and completely flip it on its head, because legit, what she turns it into in Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix through Spew, and I don't even necessarily know if she meant to do this, is she turned it into slavery is fine if you're not working for dickheads. Does anyone else have a problem with that? Because it's just like, I don't know. I really don't know. How did she not see the unfortunate implication of that? It makes no goddamn sense to me. But granted, it also goes with J.K. Rowling's politics. I've seen it was basically kind of a what is the word? Like a podcast sort of thing. Where this dude read through the books and watched the movies for, like, the first time ever. I forget his YouTube channel name. I might have talked about this before. But it was a while ago. For me, at least. But he talks about J.K. Rowling's politics, and basically she's a neo-lib. And she, like, supports New Labour and just different shit like that.
Stay out of sight.
And, yeah. And basically she wants people to have the opportunity to be able to, like, get into a better social status than you know, giving people help to get out of the status they're in. Yeah. I really don't know. She's so... J.K. Rowling. But yeah, how does it look when in your book series that's all about fighting fascism and oppression and shit like that? How weird is it that in your series where your ultimate, your ultimate, messages are fight evil and don't let fascism rule the world and shit like that, because, you know, Voldemort's basically Wizard Hitler. And everything. How do you go from that and then just let it slide that, like, the entire wizarding world condones the enslavement of house elves? And then you also have Harry, your main protagonist and a person who freed a house elf in the second book of your series. He goes from, like, doing that at the age of 12 to the ages of 14 and 15 being somehow okay.
The time of shadow.
Or at least, like, more neutral, maybe, with slavery. Harry would have more than likely in school learned about slavery of black people in both Europe and probably America as well. And, like, learned slavery is not good. And he would also have problems with, you know, like, the wizarding world being cool with, or being openly cool with, slavery being a thing. But then J.K. Rowling wants you to not question it, so she had to retcon the entirety of the house elves to be born okay with being indentured servants. And having Dobby be born weird? For not liking being enslaved? And chalk it up to he also didn't like being enslaved because he was enslaved by the Malfoy family. And they're a bunch of awful people. It's like, it's so fucking weird to see that kind of shit in a series that started out for children. Like, to have a lot of those messages, mainly, I think, unintended. But it's when you start doing the math on these things that you really start to see, like, these different themes and messages crop up. And it's like, I don't know. Like, the thing about J.K. Rowling is she honestly thinks that she's smarter than she is. She has, like, weird fucking narcissism going on in her brain. And trust me, I've dealt with enough narcissistic people to know what narcissism looks and sounds like. And especially the way J.K. Rowling deals with people that call her transphobic, because she's fucking transphobic. And I can explain that in a bit. Is like, the only way I can explain it is that she's fucking narcissistic. There's no other way I can describe her, in this case, than narcissistic. Yeah. And I can understand how maybe she got that way. She said before in places that she grew up, I think, being abused. And she's had to deal with, like, different things in her life in regards to that. So I can understand, depending on how things went in her childhood, I could understand how she would grow up to be a narcissist. doesn't excuse it, but I can understand it. Because, like, you're not just born a narcissist, you have to develop it. And generally you develop it by, like, by being, or by having it, basically you mainly develop narcissism through some kind of abuse. Mainly emotional abuse. And whether that's being neglected, or mainly, I believe it's mainly through neglect, but then also, like, other kinds of emotional abuse. Mainly by parents. So my assumption, therefore, is that when J.K. Rowling was when she was a kid, when she was a teenager, because these things also develop, like, when you're very young, she unfortunately, like, started developing these tendencies and everything, which resulted in narcissism. And I also don't like... I also think she doesn't like being questioned on a lot of things. So she had to try and, like, have a lot of forethought when it came to, when it came to a lot of things. And yeah, that resulted in her trying to, like, outthink the people that read her books. And, like, try to understand, like, the messages and everything that she wants to send with the books. It's like, personally, I think that, the first 3 books, she's fine for the most part, with not including certain, like, social and political things in the books that could get her in trouble. But it's when you get the Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix that those problems really start. They kind of started in Goblet of Fire, but they really, really picked up in Order of the Phoenix. Because she along the way was really trying to develop the politics of the wizarding world. But yeah, and then on top of that, since she's a neolib, she doesn't, like, what is it? She doesn't really, I don't know, since she's a narcissist, she doesn't like people questioning anything that she does or says. And then she also doesn't like criticism. She doesn't like anything like that. It's why she has reacted very poorly to people calling her a transphobe. And rightly, people call her a transphobe. And if anybody wants me to explain that really quickly, here you go. If you read her essay, letter, whatever the fuck it is, on why she has the statement, or why she has the stances that she does in regards to trans people, mainly it's towards trans men for some reason. She genuinely still treats trans men as if they're women, which trans men are not women, and trans women are not men, no matter how much people would want you to think. But, basically, she still treats trans men like they're women, and infantilizes them to a degree that is extremely bad if she were to ever meet and interact with a trans man. She basically chalks up anyone, but mainly trans men, into thinking they're trans because she tries to apply her own, like, situation of, like, growing up being abused by different people, to the situation. Where she says that, she said in her letter that if, when she was growing up, I think in the 80s is what she said, or 70s, if she knew that there was a way that she could have transitioned to being a man, through shit like HRT and surgeries and all that, she would have, to escape being abused. And that the people who are, the people who think that they are trans, mainly trans men, like I said, because she applies it to trans men because she considers them women. She, like, what is it? She, trying to think of how to explain this. She basically, yeah, like I've said before, she basically thinks that trans men transition and considers themselves trans to escape abuse that they suffered before they came out as trans, and, like, that's the reason why trans people, mainly trans men, exist. And she treats, I don't know, I think also she applied some sort of logic, like, the therapists that these people see made these people think that they're trans, like, or other trans people turn them trans. That's not how that works at all. You can't, like, someone else cannot convince you that you are trans. You decide that yourself after considering your options. You know? And thinking about it very deeply, and getting psychological help, mainly through a psychologist or a therapist. And then, yeah, and the therapist has you go through many different things before they're willing to consider you trans and diagnose you with gender dysphoria and start prescribing you shit like hormones and having you do things like get surgeries to physically become more feminine or masculine. You know, whichever one the opposite of the one you start out as. You know, that's not how that fucking works at all, J.K. Rowling. Ugh. But, it's like I said, J.K. Rowling's a narcissist, so she can't, and she has a very limited worldview, so she can't personally, like, think of any other explanation as to why someone would be trans than that. Like, I'm sorry, trans people don't just fall out of the fucking sky. That's so fucking stupid. Like, I don't know how someone can be that fucking blind to how the world works, or at least not want to do research into the psychology. Like, and there are a lot of people that don't understand this at all. Or at the very least aren't willing to learn so they can try to understand it. Like, if someone doesn't understand because they're just genuinely ignorant of, like, why certain things are the way that they are, or why people would be the way that they are, but they're willing to learn, like, I could give them a lot of credit just for being okay with learning. You know, because here's the thing, you should be open to learning something new. Like a new perspective, or a new fact, or something. You should be very much open to that kind of shit. You know? I think I've been up here before. But yeah, in my opinion, at the very least, you should. You should be open to learning a new thing. Whether it's a skill, a fact, or whatever. If you don't know, you should be open to learning. And this is kind of the stupid thing with, like, people who think that they are smarter than they are. Is that they're not willing to do that. They're not willing to admit, oh, I don't know this. I should look this up. I should be okay with learning from someone who knows more about this subject than I do. Because there is no fucking way, in my opinion, that J.K. Rowling would have done any research into the topic of, you know, being trans and transitioning and whatnot, and still be as ignorant as she is towards why people are trans, if they are. Like, ugh. I just don't know about some people. Like, I don't know. But back to Harry Potter, yeah, just J.K. Rowling thinks that she's smarter than she is, and she can't get out of her own way with a lot of things. So yeah, I'm very, very okay with them cutting Spew out of the Harry Potter movies, because holy shit, that side plot was terrible. It went nowhere, and it was just... it didn't need to be there. Because, like, here's the thing. If J.K. Rowling were cognizant of anything, realistically, in regards to that, she would have had, like, by the end of the series, it didn't necessarily need to be in the series itself, but by the end of the series, if she had established that, like, with the regime change at the Ministry for Magic and everything, after the Second Magical War, they abolished, house elf slavery, or at the very least, like, reformed it to where the house elves could get paid, or were required to be paid a certain amount of money to work, or you can't have them working in your house, or just something. If the wizarding community had established just something in regards to that, like, I don't know. But anyways, then, and this is just jumping, like, way to the end of the series. I still need to read the Half-Blood Prince book, but I understand it's really good. I've only seen the movie, and I only know of most of the things that they changed or left out from the book to the movie, because the movie's terrible. Like, the Half-Blood Prince movie is the worst of the Harry Potter movies. Like, some people will say, like, Maybe Sorcerer's Stone or Chamber of Secrets or Goblet of Fire. No. Half-Blood Prince is the worst of the Harry Potter movies. Like, Half-Blood Prince is bad as a movie. It's bad as an adaptation. It's not good as a movie in its own right, trying to tell roughly the same story. Whatever the fuck. The Half-Blood Prince movie, I don't understand why, but they focused on the teen romance and, like, whatever the fuck shit from the books, but they took liberties with a bunch of them, or with a bunch of the things that happened with that shit. When it's just like the entire point of the Half-Blood Prince book is to focus more on, like, backstory for Voldemort. Like, I don't understand whatsoever what the point was with, like, changing it. It honestly comes off like the screenwriters and director and producers genuinely didn't get the point of the book. This is just from shit that I know. From reviews I've seen from Dominic Noble / The Dom, Jeremy Johns, and other people that have done reviews on Half-Blood Prince that I've watched. And I don't know. It's weird because you don't even have to read the book to know that the Half-Blood Prince movie is bad. Because, again, it just doesn't work on its own, like, terms as a movie. Like, I really don't know. And then there was stuff for Snape as well. From the book as well that they just completely left out. And it's like, granted, they left out a lot of, like, Snape's story arc developments and everything. But I think they could have easily made up for it with, keeping his shit from the Half-Blood Prince book in the movie. I think that they easily could have made up for it with portraying it as best they could. But they didn't. It's so fucking dumb. I don't know how else to put it. It's just so dumb. Wait, let me put that right there. Yeah, I just genuinely don't know how else to explain it. It's just really fucking stupid. And we get, what was it? Deathly Hallows, which I felt was okay, even though, you know, I would say in both, or in the Deathly Hallows, like, J.K. Rowling...
Got to be careful not to get spotted.
Like, in Deathly Hallows, she, like, unnecessarily made a bunch of things more complicated than she needed to. She had Dumbledore find the resurrection stuff. She just introduced the Deathly Hallows anyways, which I guess technically one of these things was, introduced in Half-Blood Prince. Although I guess the ideas for the Deathly Hallow, or actually, whatever the fuck, were in there. The Horcruxes, I think, are fine as a thing to exist. Like, I think that they are fine to exist. Like, they explain how Voldemort was able to come back. They exist as a means to an end with that. That's fine. You know. But the Deathly Hallows were basically introduced to add a bit more complexity to the series. With the Resurrection Stone, the Elder Wand, and the Cloak of Invisibility.
Off we go now.
What else do I... What else was I gonna say? But anyways, yeah, those didn't need to exist. But I guess she needed a cool name, so she thought Deathly Hallows. But what are the Deathly Hallows? I don't know. Like, she retconned Dumbledore's wand into the Elder Wand. She retconned Harry's invisibility cloak into being this one from a legend. And for some reason, she had to retcon every other invisibility cloak in existence to, I guess, being a dud after a while. It's really fucking stupid. Like, I think that she probably realized that she set up a possible, like, plot point in a future Harry Potter book with the introduction of Harry's dad's invisibility cloak. What the fuck? Bro. There's a fucking bear here. Come on. Fucking kill the bear. Come on, go out, flames. Oh my god. We got two bears fighting. That's cool. You lit yourself on fire, you idiot. Didn't exactly intend to do this, but I'll take it, I guess. Captive got freed, I think, by the bear. So that should just automatically happen when I got here. Okay. But, yeah, like, so I think that she realized at some point, she was probably rereading through some of the books to see what she could include in the last one to, like, bring some things back full circle, remind yourself of some things that she set up anyways, and whatever the fuck. And, I'm very certain, just, thought, hey, I had Harry's dad's cloak. What was I gonna do with that? And then she couldn't remember what the fuck she was gonna do with it, so she thought of something new. Like, that's the best explanation I can give that. Because the Deathly Hallows were not set up anywhere in the first 5 books. Like, J.K. Rowling literally just thought of that when she was writing the 6th book and hoped that people wouldn't notice. And it's just like, I know that it's like, people scoff at, like, oh, they just make shit up as they go, because, like, of course, that's how storytelling usually goes. But there's a difference between, like, making shit up as you go, in regards to, like, thinking of a story and everything, and trying to develop a world and shit like that, and just obvious retcons that kind of devalue stuff from earlier in the series. It's just I don't know, that's like the Akira Toriyama way of writing a story. I think yeah. Have I compared? I think I've compared her to Toriyama before, but the difference is, like, Toriyama's faults are the fact that, like, he writes by the seat of his pants, or has written by the seat of his pants when he was writing Dragon Ball. And he, I don't know, he got, like, way over his head in regards to stuff. And then he got burnt out by the time that he got to the Boo Saga, so he just didn't give a fuck anymore. But yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's just dumb.
There'll be trouble if I'm spotted here.
What else about Deathly Hallows? I don't know. Deathly Hallows, minus some really dumb inconsistencies and retcons, is ultimately an okay finish to the series. That's just what I'll say about it, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna get this last thing and then call it apart.
I should be careful. High security here. Okay. So that was the last thing. That was the last thing in this particular area. Let's just go here, because, like, I'll need to get those shits next time anyways. Wait, have I been here before? I don't think I have. Well, I've been here before, I just thought it was somewhere else. So anyways, guys, I'm going to pause here and continue in the next one.